Oh, yes, 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 yes. If you're looking at the Facebook and you see a record cover wiggling around on your computerized view screen, or heck, maybe even if you're watching YouTube at an unknown date, unknown time, unknown location in the future, and you see a record cover wiggling around on your computerized view screen with a couple of hands holding it. You can see right back there a clue right there. There it is. There's a clue for you right there. Man, I can't do anything in reverse, but I'm going to keep trying. There it is. You get a clue as to who or what this is. I'm telling you right now, gang, this is Malcolm Tent with the latest episode of Tent Talks Tunes. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to my good pal Jenny in New Jersey, an original Trash American style kid. One of those people who I affectionately refer to as Trashies. Yay! We got Ray Gelman from the hot, dusty mesas of Arizona. Another Trashie from way back when. Thank you for tuning in, Ms. Gelman. Yay! Read more. That's what Ms. Gelman will tell you. Read more. Sound advice. Sound advice. Jenny, you never got a trash shirt? Core blimey. Well, I gotta tell you, some people have accused me of being the kind of guy who will give you the shirt off my back. That ain't me. I'm not one of them. It's like Bob Dylan said, it ain't me, babe. I rather like this shirt here on my back, so I'm going to keep this one. But the good news is I will be reprinting trash t-shirts before the year is up. It's one of my holiday traditions, sometime around Commerce Day, which we all know falls around the December 25th region. I like to print up a couple of dozen trash shirts and flog them to you, my loyal public. So keep an eye open for that. Cousin Tina, hey, cuz, what's up? What's up with the latest culinary adventures with my younger little second cuz? Fill us in. I love hearing about that stuff. I think it's great. Great to see what Jonathan is up to on a given moment. The kid's going to go somewhere. Yeah, everybody's coming on in. Looks good, sounds good. I'm going to start yapping, baby. It's already been 2.5 minutes. My gosh. Got to take a drink already. It might be as hot now as it is in Tucson, but it ain't no dry heat. I don't know, man. Maybe in Jersey it's the same way, Jenny. It's hot and humid. I can feel Connecticut clinging to my flesh. It's all over me. But it feels good because I like Connecticut. More good news, the poison ivy has cleared up pretty nicely. I almost look like a real human being now, not like a leper anymore. Don't feel like a leper either. I feel good. I feel real good. I feel good enough to say, yeah, let's check the bulletin board, shall we? What's going on in the immediate future of me, Malcolm Tent, your host with Tent Talks Tunes? Well, when I look to my left, I see a flyer for the almighty Anti-Scene. Look at that. We're playing a show in Anti-Scene's hometown, the Queen City of Charlotte, North Carolina, on August 28th. That is a rare, and I do mean rare, occasion to see Anti-Scene for free. That's F-R-E-E, as it says right down there, live and free. That doesn't happen very often. But every now and again, the boys from Brutalsville like to throw a bone to the Queen City and our good friends at the Tipsy Burro. So August 28th, book a flight, saddle up the mule, hitch up the horse, ride your wagon, do whatever you got to do, get yourself to Charlotte, because it's going to be a barn burner. The burns will be barning. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that when we hit the stage. The barns will be burning. If that's not good enough for you, on August 28th, you can go back in time one day to August 27th, and a few hundred miles to the east to Ground Zero in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Anti-Scene's home away from our home away from home. We'll be playing with our good friends Hembre and the Satan Sisters. It is, as you see, live and live. Not free, but you get your money's worth when Anti-Scene hit the stage, baby. August 27th, the Ground Zero, Spartanburg. Be there. Don't regret it for the rest of your life. What else have we got on the bulletin board? Well, we got the Bloody Apostles on the bulletin board, my super group. One of several I'm a part of, Anti-Scene being one of them. Here's our sticker. Check it out, the Bloody Apostles. This is myself, P.P. Duvet from the Murder Junkies, Paul Ledney from Profanatica, and Brian Zickafoose, a world-renowned graphic artist and visual artist. We have a band. We're the Bloody Apostles. We play this kind of unsavory hybrid of black metal and gut bucket punk rock. And we're playing a show in Connecticut, in New Milford at Fast Eddie's on August 6th of this year with our good friends Collins Way and Danbury's last hope for hardcore, White Thrash. White Thrash are a bunch of trashies as well, so you know they were raised up right. They had good mentorship, so they know what they're doing. Collins Way, White Thrash, Bloody Apostles, New Milford, August 6th. I'll be having a proper event page up soon, so watch out. It's gonna happen. All right, gang, let's see what we got here. Hey, there's Donnie, and yeah, everybody welcome aboard. So that's the bulletin board. Let's take a look at the mail sack, shall we? What's come in the mail this past week? Ooh, let's see here. We got some mail. Not a whole awful lot this week, but you know, I believe in quality. Well, I believe in quality and quantity. I'm a big fan of both. But we got some definite quality mail this week for sure. Just in case you was wondering, if you haven't watched Tent Talks Tunes in a week, there's my address, Malcolm Tent. P.O. Box 3626, Newtown, Connecticut, 06470. Looks kind of blurry. Now it looks really huge and blurry. But that's what it is. P.O. Box 3626, Newtown, Connecticut, 06470. Is that a 6? No, hold on a second. We have to do an autocorrect function right now with an honest-to-God pen. I wonder how it got to me. They actually wrote 0 there. This is live, by the way. There you go, 3626. That's the way the mail gets to me. And that just goes to show you how much the U.S. Postal Service loves the Bridge and Tunnel Crowd, because this is the latest issue of the Bridge and Tunnel Crowd. Connecticut's last hope for non-yellow journalism. Look, I'm opening it up live. Oh my God, this is a one hell of a cryptic issue of the Bridge and Tunnel Crowd. Look at that. They don't tell you anything, whether it's right side up or upside down. I don't know what to make of this, kids. This is what happens when you open up mail live on the Facebook and when you see it archived exactly as it happened via Kinescope on YouTube. Okay, there is stuff inside of it, but nothing on the outside of it. This is very strange. This is really, really cryptic. It's going to take me a while to figure this out. But there it is, new issue of the Bridge and Tunnel Crowd. Got it in the mail. Also, and this makes me so happy, that print zines are very much alive and well. Even now in the 21st century, in the age of YouTube and Facebook and all that, people are printing zines. And my main dog, Jason Rogers from Albany, New York, sent me 2 of his zines, one called Asymmetrical Anti-Media, and one entitled Consensus Submission Making. Ooh, that's a hot topic. Consensus Submission Making. This one is a zine that reviews other zines and cassettes. And this, as you might have guessed, is a political screed. So I'll be checking both of those out. Thank you, Jason. Jason, since you wrote about cassettes so ably, I got a cassette I'm going to send for you. This is a cassette by Fried Man, which is my noise project. This is very carefully manipulated loops and sounds and soundscapes. So watch out, dude. You got one coming your way as a token of my extreme. And the last thing we got in the mail, and this is written in real great big marker so everybody can see it from any distance. This is from Bob Lewis. Bob Lewis, who I've interviewed several times on the Malcolm Tent Shoot interview series, which you will see on my YouTube channel. Bob Lewis, founding member of Devo and an all-around gentleman and an all-around scholar, took it upon himself to send me some stuff in the mail. What did he send me? This is only some of the stuff he sent me. He actually sent me an issue of Clee magazine, great Cleveland music zine that had a double CD of really cool music. That came under separate cover. This, for all of you people who appreciate artifacts and history and great stuff, and if you mark out like I do for Devo, how about some kind of ancient original black and white photo of Boogie Boy in action? Ooh, look at that. Another photo, actual, I guess it's a 5x7 black and white print of very early Devo live. Look at the lettering on that Devo yellow suit. I'd never seen that lettering before on a Devo yellow suit. That's pretty cool. It's got to be early 1977, I'm going to guess. Not only that, just to show you me marking out some more. Jenny, you're wearing a Devo t-shirt? Then you're going to love this. How about this? Original flyer for Devo playing live, December 31st, 1977. Opening for Mink DeVille. If anybody out there remembers Mink DeVille, Devo opened for them in Santa Monica on New Year's Eve. Pretty cool, huh? And also a general all-purpose propaganda flyer. I'm going to guess from 1976, maybe early 77, with the original Devo lineup of Boogie Boy, Jungle Jim, the Chinaman, and the Clown. That's the real shite right there. I've got to get this stuff framed, yo. So thank you, Bob Lewis. Really appreciate it. Great talking to you. Great picking your brain, and nice getting some mail from you. So there you go, kids. That's the mailbag today and the bulletin board. So we're all up to date. Let's talk about records, shall we? Let's talk about records. Now, Tent Talks Tunes, as you know, is me talking about tunes, specifically vinyl. Sometimes cassettes, sometimes 8-tracks, sometimes weird formats, always music, mostly records. As I'm sure you've surmised by now, almost everything that I've talked about has been from my personal collection. And it's kind of fun and kind of funny because my personal collection is not really that big. I don't have a million records. I don't even have I've got probably thousands of records, but I only maybe a couple thousand, and that includes 45s and LPs and CDs. It's like I don't have a massive, giant, huge record collection because I've got a really small house. I'm very practical in that regard. It's like my house is so small that I determined I'm not going to be one of those guys who's got records in every single room of his house. You open up the kitchen cabinets and there's records inside the kitchen cabinets. You open up the fridge and there's records in the fridge. You go into the bathroom and there's records in the shower stall. I'm not one of those guys. I mean, if you're one of those people, I salute you. You're made of sterner stuff than I am. But I'm not one of them. I just like to have all my records in one spot. So I've got a pretty small collection. The flip side to that is that I've got a big ass inventory. From Trash American Style, my former brick and mortar record shop. Here, take a look at that classy shirt. This is what I'm going to be reprinting in December. My former brick and mortar record store, but now mail order business and pop-up store business and going to record swaps and selling records business. Anywhere I can set up a table and sell records, I do it. That's how I pay my bills mostly. So it occurred to me that I got a lot of cool stuff in there that I've never really talked about. And if I'm going to talk about it, I might as well try to sell it. And I've really, honestly, I don't enjoy selling things. I never have. I have never, ever enjoyed selling. The way I look at it, it's not my job to convince you to buy something. It's my job to be the conduit to something that you need or really want. I'm just the facilitator. I'm the vector. And if commerce enters the picture, all the better. That way I can buy cat food for Harry the cat, who's currently asleep in the aforementioned kitchen. People loved it. Like I talked about records from my inventory last week, people loved it. Y'all popped for it big time. So I figured, all right, we got the cow in the stall. Let's milk it a little bit. So I went out to my inventory, as they say in England, and randomly grabbed some records. Figured I would talk about them. And it's really cool because this is stuff I would normally not talk about. It just never even occurs to me to talk about these sorts of things. So I got this great big stack, big old stack here of records by an artist I've never talked about. Never even thought about talking about. By the way, I see Eric Johnson is wearing his Devo socks. Good job, Eric. And Jenny, ooh, you started collecting 10-inch jump blues and rockabilly, man. Collecting 78s is a whole different thermos full of minnows. I could get into that big time. And Randy, you got a package for me? Awesome, thank you. Looking forward to it already. So yeah, look at all these records I had in my inventory. And this is by somebody who I really, really love, but never ever talked about because it just never occurred to me. So the background on this giant stack of records, all of which are for sale, by the way, this goes back to about 1979, maybe 1980, 79, 80, somewhere around then. Mick Lawless, you tuned in just in time, Mick. Check this out. Talking about some British culture here. 79, 1980. That was when my father, who was one of the original tech heads, he was a guy who he had to have the newest technology whenever it came out, whether it was like a home cassette recorder or like a new kind of speaker or a psychedelic flashing light cabinet from Radio Shack, or he was always getting that kind of hi-fi gear and audio video gear. You know, he was the first one on the block to have, and this is where the story becomes germane, what was called then a VTR, a videotape recorder. He went out and spent, as I recall, I don't think my mom was too happy about this, spent a lot of money on a VTR, a videotape recorder. It was not Beta, it was not VHS. It was this weird proprietary brand by Panasonic. And the tape and the recorder itself was huge. It was like the size of a small tabletop. It probably weighed 150 pounds. It was gigantic and had all these knobs and dials on it, and it had a timer where you could actually program the times to record stuff, and it involved taking pins out of a slot on a clock face and sticking it in all these slots on the clock face. It was really confusing. It had a remote control, but the remote control was hooked up to a cable, kind of like this, a long cable that went across the room. And the videotapes themselves were big. They were about the size of a shoebox, but about 1/3 as thick. You could fit like 3 of these tapes into one shoebox, if you can picture that. And the longest they would run was 60 minutes. Unless you paid a lot of money and got a 90-minute tape. Like a 90-minute blank VTR tape was a big investment. They cost $24.95, I remember. Anyway, we got this VTR, and I decided immediately I wanted to put it to use, using the timer function. Because I was only in like ninth, maybe 10th grade at the time. And I'd heard about this funny TV show that only aired on the local educational station, WPBS, Channel 2 in Miami. It was the school systems TV channel and the PBS TV channel, and they also showed lots of British imports and stuff. No commercials, like no commercials at all, not even sponsorships. No commercials on TV. It was really cool. And I heard about this program that some of the kids at school said was really funny. So somehow I was able to dope out how to work the timer, so I could set it to record this program at 11 p.m. on Channel 2. And it worked. I was able to come home from school the next day, look at the VTR, and see that the tape had indeed recorded my first ever episode of Monty Python. Monty Python's Flying Circus. Let me tell you something, kids. For a young, wet behind the ears lad like myself, I reiterate, I was in 9th grade, maybe 10th. It's a little bit foggy. It was a long time ago. For a kid that age, seeing your first episode of Monty Python was a mind blower and a game changer. These guys were unlike any humor or comedy I had ever experienced. They were smarter than your average sitcom. They were wilder than most cartoons. They were smarter than most of my teachers, and their sensibility was just so bizarre and offbeat that I completely just fell in love with it. Absolutely fell in love with it. So I became a big Monty Python fan immediately. And I only ever bought one Monty Python record, actually, and it was when I was in the RCA Music Club. And one of their selections was the Monty Python Matching Tie and Handkerchief, which was billed as a 3-sided record. And Monty Python albums always had these gimmicks. You know, Monty Python's Contractual Obligation record, which was exactly that. They were contractually obliged to supply Arista Records with one more album. So that's exactly what they did. They squeezed out one more album and gave it the most generic, careless packaging possible and called it the Contractual Obligation album. You know, Monty Python's previous record. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. Soundtrack to Life of Brian. It's kind of what it is. No, it's not Beethoven. It's just another Monty Python record. I wish I had an original one of these. The originals of these, the Monty Python Instant Record Collection, had a cover that was a lot thicker than this, and you could actually open it up. It would accordion out to about this big, and it had all these fake album titles on the side. Instant Record Collection. My God. You know, Regulation BBC TV soundtrack. I love this stuff. Love this stuff. Cousin Tina says that the members of Python met in college, and if she remembers correctly, they studied philosophy. I believe it, because I was playing Matching Tie and Handkerchief earlier today, and all of their humor, like almost all of it, has some kind of like higher education at play. There's a lot of jokes about professors and deep, deep, deep English history, and I mean, God, you could learn an awful lot from a Monty Python record. And of course, the visual pun, it's packaged as a nice box, you know, kind of looks like a box. Got a picture of the Matching Tie and Handkerchief, and when you open it up, oh my God, it's on a hanging corpse. Ooh, love it. And of course, on the back, you've got the salesman demonstrating the Matching Tie and Handkerchief. The beauty of this that made me really, 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 really fall in love with it, and you cannot see it, even with a good camera, I think you'd be very hard-pressed to see what it is that makes this record so hilarious, is that side one is just like a regular album side. You drop the needle, it plays through, you take the needle off. Side two, which I guess is also side 2 and side 3. Doesn't say so on the label, but that's the concept. They both say side 2. I never noticed that. And it's also a free record given away with the Monty Python Matching Tie and Handkerchief. It's a free record with the tie and handkerchief. Side 2, the grooves are cut so that if you drop the needle on the groove, it will play either one groove or the other. You catch my drift? It's 2 concentric grooves mastered side by side on the surface of the record. So you've got one groove that goes like this, and another groove mastered right next to it that goes like that. And so when you drop the needle on the surface of the record, you could hit either one. And each one plays a completely different set of stuff. And I only found out about it accidentally. like really understood what it meant when I tried to play it one time and I heard whatever it was I heard, and I played it the second time and it was something completely different. Genius. If you look carefully enough at the runout groove on the end of the side there in the dead wax, you can actually see the two concentric grooves next to each other as they spool out from the record to the label. This is the kind of record geek stuff that you really look for, you know? Your average bear, who I'm told I'm smarter than, does not care about this stuff. Doesn't give a dang about this stuff. I love it. I love it. I love it. I was playing it today and I spent probably 5 minutes trying to get the needle into both grooves so I could hear both sides of the side. That, my friends, is high concept. In fact, such a high concept that I ripped it off. I ripped off the double grooved concept. How did I do it, you might ask? Let me tell you after I get a sip of water. My band Ultrabunny, one of my many bands, which I've been doing since the year 2002, when Ultrabunny got the opportunity to make our first record, I told the guy at the label that I wanted the A side of the record to be a double groove. He said no problem. So what I supplied him with was a vocal version of our hit song Squirrel Attack and an instrumental version of Squirrel Attack. Same recordings, just one with vocals, one without. And I had him master it so it was the double groove concept. So the idea being that a person would play the record, and the first time they would hear either the vocal version or the instrumental version, depending on where the needle landed. And then the next time they played the record, maybe, depending on where the needle landed, they'd hear the exact opposite version. And they'd be like, I would swear this song had words when I played this record the last time. I'd swear it had words. Or, conversely, where'd those words come from? There weren't any lyrics to this song the first time I played this record. What the? Dude, to me, that's hilarious. It is hilarious. Let's face it, that's just damn funny. And I wish I still had more of those records. They are sold out, baby. But that was an idea taken from Monty Python. So Monty Python were great. They helped to make me what I am today, which is completely absurd. And if you're the type of person who wants to be like me, or you just want to unlock your absurdity, your inherent absurdity, which all human beings are in possession of an abundance, if you want to tap into that deep, deep reservoir of absurdity and use Monty Python as your enabler, talk to me, kids. I got a lot of damn Monty Python records, and they're all for sale, every single one of them, and they're not very expensive either. I'm a frugal guy. I live cheap. I don't need a fortune. I just need something. So if you need Monty Python, talk to me. I'm easy to find, baby. I'm on Facebook. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Instagram. I got an email address. Here, check this out. Where did it go? I put it somewhere. Ah, there you go. It just happens to be my PayPal address as well. But there's my email, mt@malcolmtent.net. Here's my mailing address again. P.O. Box 3626, Newtown, Connecticut, 06470. I am very, very simpatico to reach. I'll show this to you again, because I ain't done talking yet. Monty Python took the 9th grade me and pointed me in a certain direction, which led to this spot right here. Joseph Charles says, Destructo Rock. Joseph Charles, you are correct, sir. Destructo Rock. Myrtle Beach, August 27th. Charlotte, NC, August 28th. Make plans. Now this next record is a record that I've talked about because it's a genre of music that I am very fond of. Very, very fond of. And I never really thought about it. But I did have a copy of this thing to sell. What is it, you might ask? What is it? What on earth is this guy yakking about now? The type of music that I love. First, I'm going to show you the record. Here's the record. Are you ready? I'll show you the back first. Here's the back, touting popular favorites. And if you look very carefully, you will see that the people pictured are, well, it's nobody you've ever heard of. It's not even real artists, most likely. It's just a bunch of generic images of people who like sing, or, well, you know, there's a violin, you know, that's a popular favorite, you know, as far as instruments go. There's a couple of hands on a piano right there. That's, you know, that's a popular favorite instrument sort of thing. Whoop, there's another keyboard with a hat on it. You know, a couple of people smooching. I mean, these are all popular favorites. So this record is popular favorites. According to the liner notes, it says that these popular favorites are part of a series of family favorites covering everything from When the Saints Go Marching In, to Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, to Broadway's current favorites and standards, to flamenco music from Spain and Italian popular music. It's got everything. And according to this very exciting set of liner notes on the back, the records are all very well made. They're very well made to exacting standards, they promise. So, okay, you got the back cover. It tells you what it is, but what is it? Like, really, honest, what is it? It's popular favorites, but what is it? Is it flamenco? Is it Italian popular music? Is it Beethoven's Fifth? Is it a hat being rolled across a piano keyboard? Is it the sounds of people smooching? What is it? Is it some lady staring at you? What is it? Why, it's the Surfsiders, of course. It's the Surfsiders. As you can see by the title, the Surfsiders sing. And not only do the Surfsiders sing, they sing the Beach Boys songbook, the names of which are very thoughtfully provided for you on the cover. You got, oh, look at that stuff by the Beach Boys. Help Me Rhonda, I Get Around, Little Honda. Yeah, man, the Beach Boys. That's definitely the Beach Boys songbook. But what is it? But what is it? What is it? Yeah, I know we've determined it's popular favorites. It's the Surfsiders. But what is it? In reality, it's this. It's the sound of a whole gang of very low-rent studio musicians in Long Island, New York, who have done the same thing every day for a long time. They show up at the offices of the record company, which is Design Records. Here it is. That's the Design right there. It's blurry, but it doesn't matter. It's Design Records. They show up at Design Records at 9 o'clock every morning, and they get their orders. Okay, boss, what kind of music are we recording today? Well, we need a twist album, we need a hot rod album, and we need an album of this surf music by the Beach Boys. We need all three albums by 5 o'clock today. Go! And so that's what they do. These musicians punch the clock, go down to the studio, and crank out in the cheapest, most expeditious, most uncaring fashion possible these albums. They just grind them out. They just crank them out. If they're recording albums by a group such as the Beach Boys, they probably have a few Beach Boys albums or singles or whatever. They sit down, listen to them a couple of times, kind of figure out the songs, you know, write down at least an approximation of the lyrics, and then plug in and play them with the tape recorder going. No second takes, no overdubs. If you fluff it, too bad. It's going on the record, because you're going to record it today and they're going to press it tomorrow and send it out to fine drugstores, dime stores, truck stops and flea markets all over this great land of ours. And they're going to sell for $1.33, whereas a regular album at this time would sell for like, you know, $3.99 or $2.88. In other words, it's a cheap exploitative cash-in on whatever the current trend is. Allison Levity asks, is it Muzak? It's better than Muzak. It's funnier than Muzak. It's these dudes doing their completely nonchalant, uncaring, gotta beat the clock versions of Beach Boys songs. To call them heavy-handed and ham-fisted might be an understatement. Might be completely accurate, too. I mean, they recorded it live in one take, you know, with no caring whatsoever. I love this stuff because it's so bad. It's so bad. Oh my God, it's bad. Gary Child says that he has a Batman album of popular favorites. Man, there are so many Batman records like this. It's an album with one totally careless, couldn't give a damn version of the Batman theme, and then 9 variations of the Batman theme, or 9 leftover twist songs from 10 years ago with Batman-inspired titles. These things are so cheesy. I love them. Gary, is your Batman album the one by Dan and Dale? Please comment. Let us know. Because if it is the one by Dan and Dale, I got a story about that one if you don't know it already. Anyway, so this record already is just a wonderful slice of pure cheese. It is so tacky and so wonderfully lousy that it's already earned a place in my collection. Which it had. Like, I've got one of these in my collection. I've got the stereo and the mono version. I'd had this record for years. Oh, Gary got it. I'd had this record for years until somebody pointed out to me who was on this record. Who was on this record? We've determined what it is, but who's on it? Who's on it? Who is it that punched the clock at 9 o'clock in the morning and by 5 had 3 completed albums in the can, ready to be pressed the next day and shipped off to my local 5 and Dime at a cut rate? Who was it? I never knew. I'd been playing this record forever, and I never knew who was on it until a friend of mine said, "Oh, you got that record? Play it again and listen carefully. Listen carefully to one of the singers." I thought, okay. That sort of gave me a clue, because a very famous rocker got his start in this song mill industry in Long Island. So I kind of knew who it was. Listening to it did indeed reveal the secret. And it's not Sun Ra, as it is on Gary's Batman record, nor members of the Blues Project, who are also on that Batman record. No, this wonderful, wonderful album of completely sleazy, cheesy, cynical, cash-in, junk versions of the Beach Boys songs was sung, at least in part, by... Whew, I'm thirsty. I gotta take a drink. Hold on a second. Some good Danbury Tap. I'm getting all wound up here. Does anybody want to guess who's on this record? And don't cheat. Don't go looking it up. Just take a wild guess. Long Island, 1965. Who's the singer on this record? Who's one of the singers? Well, I don't feel like waiting. I'm going to tell you. A young guy named Lewis Allen Reed, who would soon shorten his name to just plain old Lou Reed. Yep, Lou Reed. If you listen carefully enough, it's him. It is absolutely him. And what's funny, just to show you just how cheap these things are, when they recorded the album, they apparently had one vocal mic, and all the different singers would take turns singing their leads. And Lou Reed didn't project as much as the other lead singers. So Lou Reed, who's of course the most interesting guy on the record, his vocals are way lower than everybody else's, but they're still there and you can still hear it and it's still him. They didn't bother to correct the levels. They didn't care. So the vocal levels are like this. But it's definitely Lou Reed, baby. And it's him going bow, 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 bow in the background. And unlike the copies I talked about before, this one's for sale. Talk to me. I'll be happy to hook you up. Remember what I said earlier? I'm a conduit. I'm a vector. I'm the cable that goes from your desire to my supply. And the current flows. All you got to do is flip the switch. What kind of other fine goodies do we have in the Trash American Style inventory here to talk about? Oh my God, this is, ooh, wow, yeah, look at this, look at this. I got a couple more artists to talk about here. Somebody I'm very fond of, and I've never really talked about before, because I don't have any of this guy's records in my collection. Mainly because I like him an awful lot, but I don't listen to his stuff very often. But there is no denying the absolute genius and undeniable technique of one of the great musicians of all time. And I'm not being facetious at all. I'm talking about the real deal, kids. Rahsaan Roland Kirk. And if you're seeing this for the first time, you're probably reacting the same way that I reacted the first time I saw a Roland Kirk album. What is that guy doing? Why does he have 4 saxophones around his neck? What's he doing? Well, he could play. I don't know if he could play all 4 at one time, but he could definitely play 3. And for that reason, I never paid that much attention to Rahsaan Roland Kirk. I figured, well, all right, the guy's playing 3 horns at once. Some kind of gimmick, whatever. It's probably just a bunch of squawk and skronk. Who cares? But, you know, I thought it was kind of interesting anyway. And I always sold Rahsaan Roland Kirk records, especially at the colleges. I used to have this really neat circuit where I would sell records at the colleges. And college kids are great because they're very, very thirsty, very hungry for knowledge. They want to learn more about everything. So selling records was not only a chance for me to get on my pulpit and say, look, kid, you need Devo. I got to learn an awful lot by doing that. I miss the colleges very much. But because Rahsaan Roland Kirk was always very, very well respected, and I didn't understand it, you know, I didn't get it, but I respected it. And finally, back in the pre-YouTube days, I was able to score a VHS tape of a live Rahsaan Roland Kirk performance. That's when I got it. I saw and heard him playing the multiple horns. It sounded great. It wasn't gimmickry. And it wasn't all just skronking and squeaking. It was like real. This dude was playing melodies and counterpoints and counterparts. It was like 3 guys playing a horn at once. It was incredible. Or I should say 3 guys playing horns at once. You know what I mean. It was wild. Just wild. And so I started listening to Rahsaan Roland Kirk, and sure enough, it translates to vinyl beautifully. So I got a real respect and a real liking for Rahsaan Roland Kirk. Here's an album of his with Al Hibbler. I haven't heard this one yet, but I'm very curious about it. But Rahsaan Roland Kirk is really, really cool. It goes beyond gimmickry. It's an entirely new technique and a new style, and I think that it says a lot to his skills that... And you guys are welcome to prove me wrong if you want, because this is the internet age, and I'm not on top of everything. But I don't know of anybody other than Rahsaan Roland Kirk who's ever played multiple horns at one time. Ever. If I'm wrong, please post links, because I would love to know, I'd love to hear, I'd love to see. I'm very curious about it. Even if I'm wrong, it's safe to say that Rahsaan Roland Kirk is one of the very, very, very few people who ever played multiple horns, and not only played that, but did it very, very skillfully, with melody and precision. So I'm big on Rahsaan Roland Kirk. I was very happy to find that I had a couple of his albums in the Trash American Style inventory. Are they for sale? You better believe it. These are originals too. Originals. This is an original late 70s pressing on Atlantic of the Al Hibbler record. Yes, it came from a radio station and they put their call letters on it. And the cover. What are you going to do? These things happen. Vinyl's in really good, clean condition. I haven't needle tested it yet, but I will. I guarantee everything I sell. Everything, I guarantee. That's my word to you. So this is going to be pretty darn good. And this one over here, on the Mercury label, Mercury was always a real second-tier label. This is the mid-60s, maybe late 60s pressing with the red Mercury label. I don't know who in Chicago at Mercury Records actually had the gumption to sign Rahsaan Roland Kirk, but they did, and he's got some stuff, and this is one of them. We Free Kings by Rahsaan Roland Kirk. Now, Gary Child says that Captain Beefheart on Trop Mask Replica played multiple horns. Are you sure about that? I don't doubt it, but I do kind of doubt it. Did he play multiple horns on Trout Mask Replica? I wonder. Gary Childs, post a link, please. We need to know. I'm a big fan of Captain Beefheart. Love Captain Beefheart. Captain Beefheart takes the ideas put forth by guys like Rahsaan Roland Kirk and the great rhythm and blues man and the great jazz guys and takes them into a completely different realm. Completely. All right, Gary, there's specific information. He plays 2 horns on Ant-Man B. Okay. That means I got to listen to that again and see exactly what it is I'm hearing. Because I've been playing Trop Mask Replica for about 40-something years now, and I don't know, never heard him play 2 horns at once. That's just one reason why that album is so great. You can hear something new every single time. Let's talk about another jazz artist who I was always kind of late to the party on, but I've got a few of this dude's records in my inventory. And I'm happy to talk about him and happy to talk about my process of discovery of this guy. Now, my in to this dude came from Sun Ra. And if you've seen Tent Talks Tunes more than once, you've probably heard me name check Sun Ra. I just adore Sun Ra. Sun Ra is one of the only artists who I actively collect. Sun Ra and, of course, Devo. If I'm out in the field and I see a Sun Ra record that I don't have, and it's an original, and it's even remotely affordable, I grab it. I don't even think twice. You know, I'm not going to pay, you know, $200 for a Sun Ra record, but if it's, excuse me, worth $200 and available for somewhat less, I'll go for it. Because I don't even question it. I collect Sun Ra hardcore, big time. And through my studies of Sun Ra, which involve reading everything I could read about Sun Ra, watching all the videos, listening to all the interviews, I'm pretty sure that it was Sun Ra's longest serving saxman, or I guess second longest serving now. I guess Marshall Allen has officially been in service to the Ra Man for longer than anybody else. But for a very long time, John Gilmore was the senior sax player for Sun Ra. And I'm pretty sure it was an interview with him where he says, you know, I didn't think anybody could write meaner intervals than Monk, but Sun Ra did it. Sun Ra writes meaner intervals than Monk. So that immediately put the name of Felonious Monk into my mind. Sun Ra, baby. I mean, take 2. Thelonious Monk on this great Riverside album, aptly entitled The Unique Thelonious Monk. And what a great album cover that is, too. I'm a big stamp collector, too, as we've discussed before on Tent Talks Tunes. I collect stamps, I collect coins. So this is a very nice tie-in to my love of the philatelic sciences. So I figured if John Gilmore was impressed by the way Monk wrote chords, then it must be really damned impressive. So at some point I checked out some Monk, and you know, I was flabbergasted to hear that what Thelonious Monk does is not really that far removed from what Sun Ra does. Monk and Ra are definitely cut from the same cloth. And I just always thought it was funny, here's his classic straight no chaser, that Monk always got a lot more mainstream acceptance. I don't know if popularity is really the right word, but a lot more mainstream acceptance and certainly a lot more respect than Sun Ra ever got, when his music is really not that far removed from Sun Ra does. It's all about, as Gilmore said, the intervals, the chords, the notes that are played simultaneously, the tunings, the really weird giant chords that these people play. I think that Monk had the edge in terms of like mainstream acceptance because he didn't dress up like a spaceman and his rhythms were a lot more straightforward. Whereas Sun Ra was from the planet Saturn and his tunings were really weird and his rhythms were just insane. It's like if you take Monk, it's almost like what I said about Beefheart a second ago. You take Monk and go one big step outside, and you got Sun Ra. So the two are definitely musical and sonic cousins. And so Sun Ra was my gateway into Monk. And honestly, I love Monk, but I can't listen to Monk as much as I can Sun Ra, because I prefer the stuff to be that far outside with the crazy rhythms and the polyrhythmic playing and the polychordal playing and the atonal playing and the dissonance. Monk does a lot of that, but it's definitely ramped down. This is still a hell of a challenge. For your average listener, this is going to really stretch your brain, listening to Monk. But yeah, Thelonious Monk. As said before, I was late to the party, but I'm there, baby. I'm at the punch bowl, drinking some nice vegan organic punch, straight edge, of course, and digging the Thelonious Monk. So I got some Monk here. I'll be happy to be the conduit to you if you know that you need and want some Thelonious Monk in your life, along with some Rahsaan Roland Kirk or got my props all over the place here, some Monty Python, or an incredibly cheesy exploitation record featuring Lou Reed from 1965. And even if you don't want to buy any of that stuff, I hope you enjoyed hearing me talk about it. And I will definitely be checking out your comments a little bit later on, because it's all about the discussion and the exchange of ideas and everybody learning from everybody else. I really love it, really enjoy it. And thanks to everybody for tuning in. I got a couple of questions here. Who wanted to know? Benjamin Martin wants to know if I still have any Bloody Apostles 4-inch hand-lathed records. The answer is yes, but they're going fast. I've got, I think, 5 or 6 left, if that many. So yes, the Bloody Apostles hand-lathed 4-inch record. Let me see if I got one here I can show you people, because it really is a sight to behold. Well, of course I don't have one here. I put them all in the gig box, because we are taking whatever we have left to New Milford on August 6th, where the Bloody Apostles are playing with Collins Way and White Thrash. So if you want to get one, talk to me quick, because I have a prediction that after August 6th at this gig there ain't going to be none. So hit me up. Benjamin Martin wants to know, wasn't Thelonious Monk autistic? Good question. Very good question. I often wonder about that, like with today's understanding of psychology and the whole concept of the spectrum, you know, and how everybody's really just at one spot on the spectrum. I really wonder about a lot of musicians and artists from the past who weren't somewhere on the spectrum without anybody knowing it. You know, like even 10 years ago, certainly 20 years ago, that really wasn't a concept that anybody grasped, you know? I mean, like when I was a kid, I think the concept of autism was sort of in the ether and being talked about like in like higher educational levels, but nobody really knew what it was. And you couldn't really define it, you know? It was just one of those sort of strange psychological disorders that nobody knew anything about. But now it's really well understood. So you can actually go back and look and say, well, yes, this dude exhibits all the classical signs of Asperger's or some form of autism, but with that hardcore, brilliant artistic streak that so often goes with it. It's fascinating stuff, you know. It's kind of like mental illness in general. Like, you know, I'm a huge fan of the Beach Boys, love the Beach Boys, and I think that one of the things that ultimately did in Brian Wilson was that nobody understood mental illness. You know, in the early to mid 60s when he was having his nervous breakdowns and withdrawing into himself, nobody understood what was happening to him. They didn't get what was going on, like physiologically, with his brain. Nobody got it. Like, come on, Brian, cut the shit. Get out of bed and write another hit song. Come on, Brian, stop fucking around. Get with it. That was the only reaction that anybody had for his behavior. There was like no understanding whatsoever that the guy was sick. Like sick. Like if he had a cold or he had pneumonia or he had a broken leg, they would have treated him. But since it was his brain, his mind that was unwell, nobody knew what to do. They just thought he was screwing around and being an eccentric. You know, same thing with Phil Spector. Same thing with Phil Oakes, God bless him. You know, poor Phil. He's one of those guys who, if he had been able to get a proper diagnosis, he might not have hung himself. You know, depression, acute depression, and I think is what Phil Oakes suffered from amongst others. But nobody knew. Nobody got it. I read one of the earliest Phil Oakes biographies, and it's just basically page after page of his bizarre behavior without any sort of understanding or even an attempt at explanation. It's just like, well, this guy was messed up, and now he's dead. One came out later that addressed those issues a lot more comprehensively and really put the picture into focus. So it's pretty cool. I'm glad in a lot of ways. Like, I'm very wary of progress, and I'm very wary of trends and whatnot, but I think it's definitely a thing for the better that now we have this understanding of mental illness and the spectrum and conditions that make people behave the way they do, and that people aren't just being weird or difficult or eccentric or just a pain in the ass or whatever, that there are reasons for this stuff and that they can be dealt with and directed. I think that's good. I think that's very good. So a toast to that brand of so-called progress here on planet Earth. I'm for it. I'm also for that Danbury tap water. So yeah, man, thanks everybody for tuning in. Very glad to have you here. Glad to have the discussion. As usual, don't forget, Anti-Scene August 28th in Charlotte. Anti-Scene August 27th in Spartanburg. Bloody Apostles August 6th in New Milford. What else? My YouTube channel. Subscribe to it and catch all the reruns of Tent Talks Tunes. We got the Anti-Scene YouTube channel featuring Break On Through, hosted by the one and only unimpeachable president for life, Jeff Clayton. And also my shoot interviews with many, many Anti-Scene alum. A lot of good stuff on the Anti-Scene YouTube channel. subscribe to it. TPOS, my label on Discogs and eBay, and my website, malcolmtent.net. If that ain't enough falderall, then you have too deep of a need for too much falderall. As for me, I'm going to go check on the cat and see how he's doing. I think that as usual, he has slept peacefully through Tent Talks tunes. Old Harry the cat just can't be bothered. So I'm not going to bother him. I'm just going to take a look and make sure he's okay. So I do hope to be back in about 167 hours. So till we meet again, this is Malcolm Tent saying so long from the Nutmeg State.